Steamians, what is up? Dan at Starlight here. I thought I'd do a quick video explaining what gives a cryptocurrency value, or what gives a crypto token value. And this is something that I have to explain regularly, so I just thought I'd do a video explaining it. This isn't a textbook answer, it's just the way I explain it, literally. So, also, I've been thinking about this specifically in the wake of the sort of unofficial proposal that Ned gave on his Ned Talk that might still be trending on the trending page of Steemit right now, which suggests that Steam might make it so you can build your own token on the Steam blockchain, which means anybody very easily could issue their own token, you know, probably without any computer coding or anything, just set parameters and bang, you have a token. So the question is then, what would give this token value? And it's the same as what would give Steam value. What gives any crypto token value? So I break it down into 4 things. First of all, a limited supply. Second of all, utility/technology. Third is community. And fourth is speculation. So first of all, let's look at limiting supply. If you create a token that has a limited supply, it has the potential to have value. And this is the thing, is that the only thing that gives anything value beyond its utility is a limited supply. For instance, if there is an apple tree above my head and I pick an apple, well, yeah, that apple has value to me as food for me to eat. But if I pick another one and try to trade it to the guy next to me for shoes, well, he's not going to make that trade because he can just reach up and grab an apple, right? So now, if this was the only apple tree and I got there ahead of time and picked all the apples and had them in a bucket, then yes, I'm eating one apple. It has value as utility. But also, if somebody comes around and I need shoes, I can trade him an apple for those shoes because he can't just reach up and grab an apple. There's a limited supply of apples and I have them all, right? So if you can limit the supply of something, it can have value. And what people don't realize is there's so few things with limited supply in the world. I mean, even gold, you know, has its value because of its limited supply. But even that, it's not really known what the supply of gold is, or potentially, you know, what gold might be found. So with your token that you could eventually issue, it can have value just because people know that there is absolutely guaranteed a limited supply of this token. That brings me to the second point, which is utility, which means you can use that token to do something, which would be trade, right? Exchange value and store value. So this is the utility. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, well, none of these cryptocurrencies have utility yet. No, they do. The utility is currency, right? The utility is a store of value. It can do those things, right? And Steam can actually do them better than a lot of other cryptocurrencies. And that's one of the things that gives it its value. And if you were to build a token on Steam, it would have a lot of the same properties, you know, 0 transaction fees, being able to send it at lightning speeds. So your token would have a limited supply, which would give it value. It would have utility, which would give it value. And then the third thing is community. And this, I think, is these are all necessary. All 4 of these are necessary to give something value. But I think this is the most underrated, especially in the crypto world right now. And that's why I think people haven't fully seen the value of Steam at large yet in this crypto space, because I think they underestimate the value of community. Because you can have great ideas, you can have great technology, you can have a limited supply of something, but unless there's a community that wants it and believes that this token has value, then it just doesn't have value, right? Even when you have, you know, fiat currency, right? Like, you know, if I gave you $1 billion cash, but said you could not interact with any other human beings, then that $1 billion of cash doesn't have any value for you anymore because there's no community, right, in which you can use it. So community is massively important, and that's why I think Steam is still so undervalued. And the 2 cryptocurrencies that I really believe in still, and I know I know they have their issues, but are Bitcoin and Steam. And partly because I think that they have the two biggest communities, the two best, most solid communities. Now, granted, yes, the Bitcoin community has, I mean, there's a lot of division amongst that community. And, at times there has been with the Steam community as well. But nevertheless, there's a community that believes in it, even if they have different opinions. It's there. It's obvious to see. I mean, you can see it on the Bitcoin Reddit. I mean, you can see it on the Steemit platform. These are communities, excuse me, that are there and that will give the token value. Then the last thing is speculation, is what gives a token value. So if you speculate that this token is going to continue to have utility tomorrow, or even more utility, have an even bigger ecosystem, and then the community will grow, then that's going to have value because people are going to buy it because they believe that it will be more valuable in the future, right? So, I mean, back to the apples thing, right? Like, if this is your tree of apples, and those are the only apples around, well, if a bunch of other communities come and join yours, or your community grows a lot, and those are still the only apples around, then those apples are going to be worth more, right? So that's basically how I try to explain it to people. Talking about apples, put it into something that's tasty to eat. So again, you basically have a limited supply, a utility or the technology, you have the community, and you have speculation. So those four things together, they're all there always. Speculation is just the other three, but happening over time. And that's what gives any token value. So you could create your own token, whether it's on Ethereum or EOS or EOS or BitShares or potentially on Steam, which is going to be super cool if they make that happen. And a lot of the tokens won't be worth anything, right? A lot of them just won't have any value, but maybe yours will. The nice thing is that if everybody can create tokens, then it will truly be the ones with value that end up standing out, right? And you might not think they have value, but if they have the things that I just talked about, if they have some sort of utility, and then they have a community, and that would be the driving force for value of tokens built within the Steemit ecosystem or Steam ecosystem. I mean, if you have a big community, then people are probably going to start buying and selling your token. And you might find it hard to believe, but if there was an internal exchange within Steemit where all the tokens were available and could be bought and sold for Steam or for other tokens, well, all it takes is for you to say, okay, well, here's my limited supply of tokens. I'm going to work really, really hard to make these tokens valuable and to grow the community that's using them by giving these tokens away as rewards, so there's a wide distribution of this token. And if it continues to grow, then at some point, someone's going to say, okay, well, I have these. I'm going to try to sell them, and they'll put a sell order on the market for, some price. And at first, people are going to be like, I'm not paying that. I mean, if you want to give me like 50% of all of those tokens in creation for like $10, then yeah, for sure. Of course I do that, right? Like, you're going to work hard at building the value of this token, and I would reap half of the benefits of that. Well, sure. So they'll put in some ridiculous buy order, they'll take 50% of all those tokens for like $20. And you can see that all of a sudden now you have buy orders and sell orders. And all it takes is a meeting of those two, some sort of compromise, and you have the current value, the starting value of your token. There's a market for it. And, it might not be worth very, very much, but there's always going to be somebody who's going to be willing to speculate for a really, really good deal, for a huge percentage of tokens, right? So it's going to have value, even if it's going to be a very, very small amount. If there truly is a community that has that token and that is getting that token. So anyways, so that was a lot more than I thought I was going to talk about. But anyways, I'm so excited about the potential of community tokens on Steemit. I think it could be a massive game changer. And it really makes Steemit the one-stop place for everything you need blockchain related. So anyways, that's it for today. Dan and Starlight, peace out.